Hello, my fellow artists. I'm so excited you are all going to be joining me today. We are going to be painting a super awesome painting of Black Panther. Okay, so our first step is painting the background of the canvas a purple. So you are going to be getting your flathead brush, the one that's a little bit wide and flat, and you're going to begin by painting all around Black Panther's mask, the background, a purple color. So as you're getting closer to painting near the suit and the mask, you want to slightly tilt your paintbrush so that you are sort of outlining the outside and painting upward. This will help in getting as less paint as possible into the other areas. So I do have this video on a time lapse. The painting on the video is going much faster than the painting that I was doing while I was painting the canvas. We are no flashes here. So if you feel the need to slow down it a bit, feel free to hit that pause button and give yourself some time to catch up. No rush. You're painting a lovely painting today, so make it super. Alright, so once you do finish painting the purple background, what you want to do is you want to take the tip of your flat paintbrush just like this, dip it in just a little bit of white paint, and start painting the bottom on the right side, since it's still wet with the purple paint, with a little bit of the white paint. You just want to kind of blend it in and then make your way up. Alright, so step number 3, you take your pointy brush, dip it in some purple, and as you can see, I'm going over these little fine edges where I'm just going to be painting the purple in so that I can get more coverage in those areas. Okay, so what you want to do now is take your flathead brush back again, dip it in some white just like I just did right now, and we're going to blend in some of that white into this purple. Mind that this purple paint should still be slightly wet still, so the blending shouldn't be too difficult. If it still is, if it dried up, what you want to do is you just want to put some purple on it again, just to kind of get that wet paint down, and then blend in your white over it. And of course, make sure that while you're painting, blend your way upwards. Notice I'm dipping in my brush into the purple and I'm going over the background once again, and that is completely okay. What that does is it kind of helps you even out your paint. Notice how around the canvas it looks like there's streaks of paint. If you go over with your purple paint again over it, it will help to even out those streaks. And don't worry about making it perfect. The streaks will end up showing no matter what. The purpose of this is just simply to hide it a little bit. All right, once you've painted that lovely background, that purple, pick up your canvas and paint the sides, the stretched sides of this canvas purple as well. Okay, now that we have the purple background completely painted, you want to wait till it dries up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be taking our black paint, pop open the cap for that black paint, and let's begin painting the mask. So I began painting the mask with the black paint with my flathead brush first. I did make my way over and use the pointy brush later, as you'll notice. So this is the tricky part. What you want to do is you want to start painting from the top and make your way down. There's a lot of small spaces in between each of those different lines, so you might want to switch out between your paintbrushes. For me, it was easier to use the pointy brush and go over the edges and outline it in black. I did go back later on some of the spaces that were much bigger and use my flathead brush to paint in the black spaces. But then again, it is your preference. Some of you might find it easier holding this pointy brush versus the flathead. Whatever you're comfortable with, don't worry. Just paint away. Remember, the painting is much easier when you stay in symmetry when you're painting. So if you're on the left side, work your way from top to bottom on the left side first before you begin painting on the right side. The thing that we have to appreciate about a superhero mask is that it's very detailed, lots of detailed work. So once again, I know it's very tricky in between these lines. You have to make sure that you get in between those lines and try not to get over those little small spaces, because later on when we do paint the white, we want to make sure we have enough white so that our glow-in-the-dark paint shines very visibly and wonderfully. Speaking of glow-in-the-dark paint, I absolutely love it. I think I first used it, either it was in my space painting or my Spider-Man canvas. I forget. Anyhow, you should totally check into that as well too. But this glow-in-the-dark painting brings your entire canvas to life at nighttime. It's so magical. As you're painting through the black, you'll notice that it is such detailed work, and it's definitely going to take you quite a bit of time. So if you need a pause or a break, definitely feel free to hit that pause button and snack on some delicious cookies. Okay, so for our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to get our pointy brush and we're going to dip it in a little bit of white. And what we're going to do is we're just going to mix it in with just a pinch of purple. And we're going to go over that line on Black Panther's ears. We're going to make it a light color so that way it's visible and it's distinguished from the black. And as you notice, I am also blending that in towards the right side of that ear. So what that initially does is it just sort of gives it a glare on the ears. That way, so when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like a flat black color, and instead has a little bit more shine and definition to the top of the head and the ears. And then, as you notice, I went ahead and did that same thing to the right side of the canvas as well on the ears. So same thing, you dip it in white, dip it in a little bit of purple, mix it in, blend it in, and then you paint over that ear. All right, so now I'm going to be making my way into the middle of the mask. I'm going to be outlining just so that it could help me in keeping clean lines against those white areas that I need to stay white. And I'm going to make my way into the middle and just continue coloring it that black paint color. I like to work on easels, but sometimes it just makes it so much more easier if I can just have a flat space where I can move my painting around and paint from different angles, especially when the paint is still very much wet. Just makes it easy when you're able to maneuver the canvas around. So if you're comfortable doing that too, go right ahead. Alright, so as you come to an end painting that middle part black, we're going to start working on the middle space, which I like to call the no space. We're going to mix a little bit of white and purple together, and we're going to work our way from the bottom towards the top and just blend it in there. As your purple and white blended color reaches the top, just keep blending it into that black space. It should be pretty wet still. And as you can see, there's that little bit of glare right there as I'm making my way out. And that's okay because we want to get that definition. We want to get that little glare on the nose to kind of make it look, stand out. All right, our next step is going to be mixing in a little bit of white with a little bit of purple on our pointy brush. And we are going to be painting the jawline right there, those three sides. All right, so as we're approaching some of our final steps, we're going to work on this bottom portion of the canvas, the suit. And we're gonna start with our black again. And we're going to avoid painting those diamonds across the chest of the suit. Those will be painting white later so that we can put our glow-in-the-dark paint over it. So right now, as you can see, I'm just using my flathead brush because there's bigger spaces here. So it's a little bit easier for me to paint with that. Plus it'll cover more area and it'll make my painting go a little bit faster. Of course, it's your preference if you feel like you might need to use the pointy brush because it's a thinner brush. And if you're comfortable with using that, maybe you can go out and outline those areas. However you like to do it. And of course, don't forget to color the sides of the canvas because the canvas is stretched, so it wraps around, and from the different angles, you'll be able to see the canvas. So you want to make sure that you're painting over those areas as well. Okay, at the bottom over here, we're gonna get that little bit of glare. So we're gonna get our flat brush, dip it in a little bit of white and purple, and we're gonna start painting from the bottom and blend it and stroking upwards, just like I am now. And that's just to get a little bit of a glare and a two-tone color from the bottom. So I did that on the left side, and now I'm going on to the right side, and I'm just going to sort of make my way to the edge of the canvas on the bottom right. So I'm just zooming in on here on the canvas so that you can have a better look to see what it looks like when you do blend in that that little bit of white and purple up against the black. It's not going to make it too light, just a little bit of a different shade of black is what it's basically going to look like. But you can tell that there's that little bit of a purple in there, like a little hint of purple. And of course, just keep going around the canvas on the outsides of the canvas, the stretched part, and paint over it as well. You want to make sure that your canvas is looking really nice and colorful even on the edges, so that when you're looking at it from an angle, you can see that there's a wraparound of this entire canvas. Okay, so what I'm doing in this step is that I'm just mixing a little bit of white and purple together, and I'm going to go back over the ear up on top, and I'm just doing a touch-up. Just want to make sure that my colors are looking good. I think I messed up a little bit earlier. So now that it's dry, it's easier to go over it and fix it. All right, before you go to this next step, you want to make sure that your canvas is completely dry. Take your pointy brush, dip it into the white, and now we're going to start painting over these white areas. The reason why we should do this is because if you get close up to your canvas, you'll notice that those lines are not very even. So while you're painting over it, as you can see right now, that my lines are becoming a little bit thicker as I'm painting over the white. And you want that because when you do apply the coat of glow-in-the-dark paint later, you want to have enough white space so that you can have that glowing effect and enough glowing effect on the paint, on the canvas, on those white areas. So I'm just going around right now and I'm painting over my white areas. I'm just making the lines a little bit thicker, and I'm evening them out. And I'm just going to try and make sure that they look as clean as possible. Okay, so if you noticed earlier, we didn't paint those double streaks on the right and left side of the top part of the mask white. Instead, we're going to color it this purple color. So we mixed a little bit of white with some purple on the pointy brush, getting this tone of purple, and we're just going to streak through. Of course, you want to make sure that your black paint is dry before doing this, so that way you're not smudging the two different color paints together. Notice that my lines came out really thick, and that's okay. Once you do finish doing these streaks with the purple, you can go back with the same pointy brush and color in between the two streaks a little bit of black so that you can define it even more. Okay, yay! We got to the glow-in-the-dark paint. This is my favorite part. Now, before you do paint the glow-in-the-dark paint onto the canvas, please make sure that your white paint is completely dry, so that way it's not going to smudge or smear anywhere. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take your glow-in-the-dark paint. First of all, make sure that you're mixing it very well. Then you're going to start painting over the white paint. If you make a mistake and you go over onto the black, it's okay. You can use the tip of your fingernail to clean it off, or you can use your flathead brush. Just make sure it's completely clean and dry, so that way you're not mixing any other colors onto the canvas. And we're just going to go around the entire canvas where all of the white paint is, and we're going to be painting it with the glow-in-the-dark paint. Okay, now we're gonna go back to our double streaks on the sides of the mask up top, right underneath the ears. We're gonna dip our paintbrush back into that black, and we're gonna outline around these lines again so that we can get a more cleaner look to these streaks. Okie dokie, so for our final step, we're going to be dipping our pointy paintbrush into the purple. And we're just going to create like a little line coming from the bottom of each diamond and coming just right up to the middle. Remember, you want to make sure that the glow-in-the-dark paint that you already put onto the white paint is dry before you do this. Otherwise, you're just going to smear straight into the paint. So we're going to start it out just a tad bit thick, and then as we're making our way into the middle of those diamonds, just thinner, slightly thinner, just like that. And I like to do my signature on the side of the canvas. Of course, you can do the same thing, or you can just put your name at the bottom right. And there you have it, your Black Panther painting. Doesn't that just look amazing? Yeah, it sure does. Wakanda forever.